This is Arthur Ashe. I'm in Richmond, Virginia, and this is the Arthur Ashe Jr. Athletic Center that was built in the early 80s. I'm going to say around 82, 83. It was built right after I graduated. I graduated in 1982 here in Richmond, Virginia. For those of you outside of the city of Richmond, of course, you know the legacy and the history of Arthur Ashe. He's a native of the city of Richmond. This video that I'm about to do right now has something to do with the legacy of Arthur Ashe. I'm getting into something about how the city of Richmond, as far as I'm concerned, has done more to dishonor the legacy and history of Mr. Ashe than it has done to really honor him. Because for me, it's all about what the individual wished for. If they spoke in their own words and it's documented, and we know clearly what their wishes were, and we do something other than that, and we don't go the distance to do what they wished for, the mark that they wanted to leave, then we've dishonored them. And that's where I'm going. You may have meant well by naming this boulevard for him, and that's fine. You name the school after him, that's fine. But here's the thing about a lot of times when we just name this and name that and not really go the distance in something that's more leaving their mark, that really, really deeply represents their mark and what that person was about. In the case of Arthur Ashe, he wasn't just an athlete, a world-class athlete. He was a humanitarian. He was someone who was very outspoken in his own way. He wasn't a Muhammad Ali necessarily. He wasn't like some other people in there being outspoken as vocal, but he was vocal in his own way, and we definitely saw that in a latter part of his life. Now, fast forward to where I'm going with this facility and where I'm coming from. This facility was erected probably, I'm not sure, I'm trying to keep up when Arthur Ashe passed. I think it was probably in the late 80s when he passed. So if we're talking about the early 80s when this was built, he co-signed on that part. But his long-term wish was to have that Hall of Fame built. Hard Road to Glory, which I encourage many of you to go out, check out, and read. Hard Road to Glory, Legacy History of the Black Athlete. Purchased the book. There are like 3 volumes, and there haven't been anything researched or written quite like it. Believe me, there's some great writings and some great books. I have them. But if you want to talk about the totality of the legacy of the black athlete and the experience in the United States of America and abroad, those books, Hard Road to Glory, and I just can only imagine what a Hall of Fame and a museum would have had. World-class people coming from all over, just as they descended here just to have the boulevard named for him, what that would have meant, not only for the history of the black athlete and our experience in this country in terms of that, but also just something for generations to benefit from. That's what I mean by substance as opposed to symbolism. And coming by a boulevard and say, yeah, we got a boulevard, Arthur Ashe Boulevard, or the statue that was put on Monument Avenue. Those are more like symbols as far as I'm concerned. They're nice to have, nice to look at, but they come off as being more symbolic. They're going to tear this facility down. And this is a major part of the reason why I'm doing this video, and I resurrected my being outspoken. I've been outspoken about the Hall of Fame for some time. I'm gonna say going on 2 decades now, having written to the Richmond Free Press, and when I'm talking to people from time to time, I bring it up. But this has gotten me really rattled up because they're gonna tear this down, and not just because they're gonna tear it down, but the fact that they're not gonna do anything as far as replacing. You know, as far as I'm concerned, they could have basically expanded this facility, to be honest with you. I'm not buying this nonsense about is it that bad a shape that they got to tear it down, and you got buildings 3 times or 4 times as old as this facility, believe me, and they renovate those facilities all over this city and elsewhere. You have buildings that are much, much, much older than this, and you're not going to tell me that the condition of this building is in that bad a shape, that all it needs to do is to be upgraded, expanded to accommodate its purpose and its original use to meet today's needs and so forth. This facility was basically, in many respects, for young people, for our youth, and for the city at large, nonprofit organizations, multi-purpose, you name it. That's what the purpose of this facility was for. What I'm noticing about our city and the developers, they got this vision and this idea of something else. I don't want to get too much into it because I want to stick to the subject at hand and what we need to do to really go the distance in representing the legacy and the wishes of Arthur Ashe by going ahead and getting that facility to build, and at the same time complement the development. As far as I'm concerned, what they're talking about doing here, I'm not saying it's not going to be a success, but when you say success, what does that mean? What's your measuring success? Okay, people are going to go see the baseball games, that's fine. But we don't have a year-round indoor facility. This is a year-round indoor facility. You expand it. It's because it's named for Arthur Ashe. It's not just the athletic village that the college is talking about building, which is going to be for the university. I'm just saying. What they're talking about with that athletic village and those indoor facilities, and they're going to have Arthur Ashe's name probably on some tennis courts. Again, that's some tokenistic, symbolic stuff. I'm sorry. If you're not going to go the distance and go ahead and do the Hall of Fame, I'm just not impressed. I'm not going for that. But if they built the Hall of Fame and they had the sportsplex indoors, it'll be a win-win for everybody. You got a year-round, state-of-the-art facility, sportsplex, indoors, Arthur Ashe, you can't go wrong with it. I'm fine with what Henrico and other places are doing. That's fine. We're talking about Richmond, Virginia, and we're talking about, in many cases, inner-city kids, underserved. They deserve a whole lot better than what they're getting. They shouldn't have to travel miles and miles and miles to go somewhere to go play basketball in a nice facility when they could have something, and it could be a win-win for everybody, not just the young people. Come on, people. We're talking about Arthur Ashe, a world-class, renowned icon. You will have people coming from all over the place as we honor those athletes, coaches, and you name it. And I can just go down the list of activities that such a facility would have, because it would be multi-purpose. But what do I know? I mean, I guess urban planners and developers seem to know more than what some of us in this city know. I guess they know more than what we know. That's why we no longer have MEAC. That's why we no longer have the CIAA championship. That's why we no longer have a whole lot of things, and Norfolk's getting it. You know, that's why Charlotte and several other places that are actually doing the things that many of us in the city of Richmond are asking our people to do, but they're just not doing it. They're doing a lot of, I got to be honest, a lot of milquetoast development. It's just not going the distance. And so I'm going to challenge us. This is our challenge, y'all. Let's get out of our feelings and our ego. This is the challenge for the developers, the multimillionaires, the successful people, and so forth. We have got to do better and do right by this city, do right by the legacy and the history of Arthur Ashe. Put your ego aside. Even if you don't build it here, a damn facility built. It's going to be a win-win for you. It's going to be a win-win for the city. It's going to be a win-win for everybody. We got to do better. You turn this thing down, this is telling me, and it's telling generations to come, it just doesn't look good, that your vision is not what it should be. And again, I'm not a developer. I'm not a city planner. You don't have to have a college degree in city planning. But the experts are the people who go elsewhere when it comes to being entertained. The experts are the people in those athletic conferences that don't show up in Richmond. And they go elsewhere and spend millions and millions of dollars. But we're sitting here in Richmond all giddy and all happy doing symbolism stuff because we got an athletic village that's being built. I'm sorry. I'm not hating on the university, but I'm sorry. It's just not cutting it with this. And so I had to get that out there. And for you alumni, again, and if you're an alumni of Richmond Public Schools and so forth, man, our generation got to speak up and be more outspoken and stop being quiet on these things. People were outspoken to give us what we had. We don't realize the conversations and the fighting and whatever else to have gotten us even something like this built. Okay? Believe me. So we owe the generation today to do the same thing that the generation of adults did for us. So that being said, take care and honor the legacy of Arthur Ashe.